Assalamu alaikum, peace. It's Fatima, Coach Fatimah, 1/3 of Outstanding Personal Relationships and co-author of the new book. Check it out. Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. If you want to grab this book, head on over to Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored.com. My bad. Let's Talk Polygamy.com. Yeah. Okay. All right. Glad you all can hear me. If you are on YouTube, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, share the video at the end if you make it that far, because sharing is caring. You're going to want to hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time we go live, every time we upload. We have a number of videos covering anything you can almost think of in regards to marriage and monogamy and in polygyny, because Coach Nadir, my husband, is married to myself, and Coach Nyla, my amazing co-wife. Simultaneously, y'all. I mean, some people are going to be triggered, but you decided to be here. Remember that. So if you're on IG, everyone, I'm interacting with IG over here and YouTube right here. Okay, guys? So you're going to see me checking on everyone. I'm doing a solo dolo this evening. I was with our husband, Coach Nadir, last night, and we want to keep these conversations going surrounding marriage and specifically in polygyny, because it's growing very popular. I mean, it just is. And we're going to discuss some very important topics. We always do, and we always like to keep it real on our channel, on our socials, and in our real life. So polygyny is not just happening to one person. It's happening to more than one person, even your children. And we're so in our own head sometimes we forget about our kids, but that's another video and another live for another day, inshallah. So the topic for tonight, got to go there because let's get it. And we're not running from anything. We're grown, right? We're grown. So one of the things that I wanted to discuss was, and is, come on, microphone, move, girl, is polygyny, the battle in and of his bedrooms. This is where a lot of comparisons are made between co-wives. People want to compare look, talent, skills, gifts, beauty, cooking, housekeeping, childbearing, child rearing, all types of things when it comes to a man. Thing that people like to focus on is sex in polygyny and what a man is doing in his home with his wives. Now, I'm monogamously married to Coach Nadir. Coach Nyla is monogamously married to Coach Nadir as well. But we are not, meaning the women, are not married to each other. No, we're not. So polygyny, and we know how to spell, and we know how to pronounce these terms. And it's when a man has more than one wife. So let's make the distinction versus polyandry, where there's more than one partner, whether they be male, female, and it's a throuple and things like that. That's not what we do. That's not what we've ever done. And that's not anything that we're going to practice. We're Muslims, and this is not allowed in Islam. And I don't swing that. So let's just be real on that, and neither does my co-wife. So the battle of the bedrooms, or the battle of his bedrooms, what does that mean? It means that oftentimes women want to compare. The men will ask questions and try to figure it all out when it comes to their wives, and spending the things that are measurable like time and money. Those are the things that you can't. Women oftentimes, and some women can talk about this as well, is that we start to think about or ruminate about things that have nothing to do with us. And that is what happens in our husbands that live with two wives in separate dwellings. He has two bedrooms. Okay. My co-wife and I don't live together. Some people do this, and that might work for their family, but for us at this size and having and needing our own We have different needs in our homes. We have children that are bonus children for both of us, and they wouldn't be living under the same roof. So wouldn't be living under the same roof as my son because they're not. We've traveled together, we've done that, but she would stay covered in front of my son, and that's Coach Nadir's son and Coach Nyla's bonus son. So, we co-parent very well. We really do. We really do. We respect each other's role a great deal, and we have an incredible amount of respect for one another. This has been a challenging journey, but a journey of growth and beauty and togetherness and connection and building and taking care of this amazing family that we have. It's a lot of us. It's a lot of us. And it is honorable work. So and think that one would get away with that. You can be blocked, not blessed. That's how that works. So anywho, one thing that is very violent that we do is that we as women continue with comparing in the realm of intimacy and, again, skill, desires, wants, background, all types of stuff. It can go off in a hair color. It can get really wild. It can get really wild. But all the while, we can diminish our power and our beauty, and no one has to say a thing to us because we're thinking about things that have nothing. Does whether it's a date, whether it's dinner, whether it's a TV show, whether it's hand holding, whether it is marital relations, which is sex, that's not my business what they do. I'm so busy in my business with him, I don't have time to think about business of theirs that has nothing to do with me. Was I always this way? Oh no. No. But reeling oneself in is very important. Knowing when you're starting to kind of spiral and think about things you shouldn't think about. Somebody asked me a question, and I'm telling you, this was feral on the interweb. This woman got on here with me, and she didn't know me, you all. She didn't know me. She didn't know that I was set up the way I am, and that means that I shoot straight from the hip. And I don't like wasting time necessarily when I'm talking. I like a good story, and I like when people beat around the bush and they talk about this good story and it has a great. I like that kind of stuff. I'm an extrovert. However, don't come for me unless I send for you. So it was a live event, and she was like, "Well, I don't know how you share, and I don't know how you don't think about what they're doing." I said, "Because I'm too busy thinking about what I'm doing with him." Don't do that. Don't do that. We're all consenting adults. So if I'm here, it's because I want to be. If Coach Nyla is here, me married to Coach Nadir, that's because she wants to be. If he's here with us, it's because he wants to be. And no amount of hatred and gaslighting on the internet and people being mean in the comments is going to change it. I'm too old, not elderly, y'all, but I'm too much of an adult to let somebody try to rattle my cage in the comments, not after what I've been through. No, not after what my husband has been through, not after what my co-wife has been through, because it's very juvenile to come over to somebody's channel and say, "I don't like y'all." That's great. Go be great in your lavender. You think I'm going to lose sleep? Not this one. Nope. I said that last night, well, the night before last. No ma'am, no ham, no turkey. Okay, I don't know what that means. That last comment, not you, but the person that made that comment to you. I'm sorry, I missed the comment before that because I'm multitasking here. If you are on IG, I want to just say to the men only, if you are serious about practicing polygyny, comment shift. Okay. If you're serious about practicing polygyny, okay, comment the word shift. All right. I want to see some shifts in the chat. So over here to YouTube. I remember some years back, this celebrity was on this podcast. I don't know his work, but I remember his answer. And I think he was a producer or something like that, but I don't really follow that kind of stuff. However, he was asked about his ex-wife and his ex-girlfriend, and he was on a reality show, and someone said, uh, who was better in the bedroom? I don't know why people care. I don't know why they care. I don't get it. However, I mean, it gets views and likes and ratings and stuff like that. So maybe that's why they asked. Um, I'll not try to figure it out. However, he said something interesting, and I was like, oh my God. This came up on my feed. I don't know who's watching this man, but this came up on my feed. And I said, this would be interesting to see what his answer would be. And he said, one's not better over the other, and they're just different. And I said, wow. Because who would have thought he would have answered that way? You know, you think when someone's in a reality TV world, you would think that they'd give some type of really disrespectful answer, or they'd say, well, yeah, she's better, or that, you know, she's horrible. And he didn't. He just said, I can't answer that. They're just different. And I thought that that was a very mature response, given the business that he was involved in. And I said, you know what? Many people could learn from that, because when we ask, I remember another thing, I'm like, people got to really stop this. Asking one's husband, well, is she better than me? Mm-mm. And if I was a man, I would never answer that question, because what would it benefit you? What are you willing to gain from that answer? And do you really expect your husband to say, oh no, she's not? We have to be very mindful of the questions that we ask our husband, and then putting him in a position to be completely uncomfortable. And in some cases, he might feel very disrespected, because why are you asking me that? You know, and there have been messy men that say, they'll answer it. They'll answer it and then pay for it later on and live with regret. So not to get painted into a corner and be asked questions that are so private. So I wouldn't ask my good best friend, what's going on in your bedroom? Tell me more. Y'all would think I was crazy. You can say, why are you asking her that? That's not your business. So why does it change when we get over here to polygyny? Because there is a certain amount of control that we might want. But then we end up hurting ourselves, because we asked a question that has no bearing on the success of our marriages. Not any bearing. I would never ask a question like that, because of what it would do to me, and what it would do to my marriage, and what it would do to my husband. Even what it would do to my co-wife. Because we think because Fatimah, no, coach. We think that we have to hit people physically in order to be violent. No, you can be violent out of your mouth with your words, your deeds, your intentions. Because we know if we intend on being petty, and we know if we intend on being peaceful. We know that. Because we'll be saying in our head, watch this, and then fire one off. And sometimes they come in the form of these really intimate questions that we should never ask. And then we wonder why we're hurting and we're sad. And you ask the question, though. Be careful about the questions you ask, because you might not like the response you'll get. Because although men can be amazing communicators, their approach is typically more direct. It doesn't mean it's rude. It just means it's more direct. It becomes more logical versus emotional. And he might tell you and haul off and tell you to mind your own business. And I would hope so. Or don't ask me that. because he knows what it'll do to you. To just even ask, don't wonder. I remember years ago, I was coaching two women that were married to the same man, and that was interesting. And one of them said to me, he took her somewhere. He took her off to the cabin that we used to go to. I said, how do you know that? How do you know that? Told on herself. She looked in Facebook and she dug and created accounts, and she found out. Well, she did it again because I told her, don't do that. It's not your business. Now you have the burden of knowing it. Now you have the burden of carrying it all around. So she finds this stuff out, confronted him about it. She did it again. I told her don't do it. Reggie said that. I don't know what. She was just a glutton for punishment. Well, she accidentally ended up pushing the wrong button on Facebook, and it alerted the other wife that she was snooping. I said, see that? She was like, I poked her on accident. I said, that's what you get. That's what you get. That's what you get. You shouldn't have been snooping. You know that. Now you have the information. Now she knows you have the information, and you see each other all the time. Don't get mad. Don't get mad when you do that to yourself. That is a self-inflicted wound. That's a self-inflicted wound. And you got to be careful about it. And one thing that we forget about sex and polygyny and having a man and being married to a man that's married to more than one wife is that sex starts in your mind first. It starts up here first before it ever gets to the nether region. So if you have a vicious attitude, someone say, well, who's the better wife? The better wife is the one with the better attitude. The better person is the one with the better attitude or demeanor. Okay. So if you got one wife at home screaming her head off at you, and she might have good reason to be upset, but screaming and name calling and being disrespectful is different. And then you have a wife at your other house that's able to sit down and have a mature conversation. She might be mad as you know what, but she's able to sit down and have a conversation. A man might say, this wife is a better wife to me in this moment. It doesn't mean she's reigning supreme for all time, because all couples get in it. But if you keep getting in it, you won't be getting in that bed having a good time with that funky attitude. I'm going to just keep it a buck. It's so true. Who wants to be up under someone and they have a terrible attitude? And sometimes as women, we know that we'll go, well, he kind of started this and he made me mad, and he can do that. And I'm sure you get on his nerves too at times. However, it's how we respond, right? Don't they say first responders, or do they say first reactors? They say first responders, because you have to be able to respond in a calm manner when something violent is happening. Whether it's a fire, whether it's an argument, whether it's a pew-pew being showed in public, whether somebody is at the brink of unaliving themselves, you have to be responsive and not reactive, because you'll end up creating polygyny panic, where you start spiraling because your husband is married to another wife, or wives in some cases. Shout out to those brothers too, and those sisters as well. But being mindful that we're not going to get the desired outcome that we want by being reactive. I'm here to tell you that from experience, from coaching many women. And if you're interested in experiencing true fulfillment, comment the word heal. If you're a woman, this is for women only. Comment the word heal if you're on IG. So you had to go over to IG, comment the word heal if you're over there. Okay. So it's very important to understand that attitude is everything with everyone. So let's use co-wives as an example. Okay. If you don't want to talk to your co-wife, okay, but being cordial is important. It's important to the health and wellness of your family, and even in some cases of your marriage, in many cases, because your husband doesn't want to hear you calling his other wife out of her name. For what? He don't want to hear that. If you can't say co-wife, you can say her name. You can say your wife. You can make you can make the conversation less hostile, because hard conversations shouldn't be hostile at all. They shouldn't be hostile at all. They don't have to be. And only you can make that decision. Look up and down at the chat as I'm talking to you all. But thinking of lives instead of dishonor helps us when we're communicating with our husband, when we want to connect with him, and not trying to demonize our co-wives just because they're there, just because he's married again. Not that she did anything. She just exists. I don't like it. Well, he's not going to like you not liking that, because whether or not you look at your children that you might have, that your husband has with you and with his co-wife, those are his kids. They're siblings, whether you want to accept it or not. And those kids have not done anything to you unnecessarily, unless you had some big old giant argument with grown-up children or middle school, high school children. That's a little bit different, but remember, we're always the adults in the situation. We should be. But if you have a keep those kids over there attitude about your husband's other children with his wife, that's a problem. And then that goes over into your bedroom. Because if you diminish his children, you don't want anybody diminishing your children. I hope somebody does come up to me talking to me crazy about my children. I mean, we can get it, but don't expect me to be your friend. Don't expect me to want to be around you or like you or have you in my world. Now, men are a little bit different because they're married to us. But be intimate with you, he will not. If you're saying, can you get your children away from my kids? I don't want my kids meeting them. I'll give you a really powerful story of a friend of mine. I have some very amazing friends. She was divorced. She's still divorced, 23 years of marriage. It was a horrible, toxic situation. It was horrible. The divorce was horrible. The co-parenting was horrible. Everything. Those kids grew up. But during that time, I asked her, was she going to go back to her maiden name because she didn't want to be associated with her ex-husband? And she said something so mature to me. And she said, no, Fatimah, I'm keeping that last name of his. And she said, because my children have that last name. And I thought that was beautiful. And she said, in his child, with his other wife, that child are my children's siblings, and I'll not have division. And I got emotional, and I said, that's very beautiful. And I loved it. You are looking at a child, big grown adult. My parents never got married. I was always the bastard. I was always the leftover kid. My grandparents had to raise me, the whole works. There was an agreement made between my mother and my grandparents and my father that they'd raise me, but they could not adopt me. That was the agreement. Whatever you want. Don't change her name. Don't adopt her out. And that was the agreement. That's it. However, I know what it's like for my siblings to leave my grandparents' house and come visit me and go to their mother's homes. So I grew up closer to my dad's children than I did my mother's children because they were never around because my mother was not around. She just wasn't. She was going through her own thing. So now, as my husband married again, I didn't want my bonus children to his children or his bonus children to feel like they were less than the children that I had, because they never were. Those are my biological children's siblings. So if people want to be kind to them, I think that's beautiful. But I'm going to make sure I'm one of those people too. I gotta be. Because they're a part of him, and our children are a part of me, and they're a part of this family, and we love them very deeply. So it would be no different if my daughter, who's approaching 30 this year, shout out to her, love her to death. She's the oldest and a warrior princess, warrior queen now. But and she's a wife and a mother, and she knows. And she's been here a long time with us, and my second oldest daughter as well. So the daughters are older than the littles, right? And then we have boys in the middle, right? So all the girls are older pretty much than the boys, except for one grown up. It's Coach Nyla's son. He's up there with the girls. So I thought about it, and I said, if someone approached my 30-year-old daughter, she could handle it. I know that full well. I know that. But I would advocate for her and advocate for my bonus children with the intensity that I have and the love in my heart that I have for my children that I gave birth to. They have my protection. They have my love. They have all the trust that I can hold in my heart for them. They have all the affection I can give them, the food from my hand, the food from our home and our kitchen. It's like their second home. I feel that way. You know, and they rambunctious little energetic little boys, and they've taught me much, and they can explain anything to me. They're very smart. They're so cute. However, I know they come from a different time than my daughters do, but I don't love them any less because I'm not their biological mother. If not, I love them more so because I want them to grow up and I have their mental health and well-being at the forefront of my mind, because I'm able to have a conversation and have love for their mother and of course for their father. But having mature conversations and understanding that adults screw up the family, not the kids, is important. So they will not grow up on my watch saying that I was rude to them. This happens, y'all. This happens. Co-wives can be mean to children. Children can be mean to co-wives and talk to them like they got a tail. Mine don't. You had better not do that in this family. Child, please. Wake up, salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. But I'm very serious when I say that. So if husbands aren't as affectionate as wives would want them to be in this part of the conversation, let's check our attitude. Let's look how we're speaking to each other as wives. Let's look how we're caring for bonus children if you're there yet. I don't know if you're there yet, but be at least cordial. Because when we start disrespecting each other's role, and then we expect to have a healthy family, no, that's not how that works at all. I got my notes, y'all. That's what you're hearing, looking at IG. And if you all have any questions or anything like that, what you're going to want to do, I'm going to put it across the screen on YouTube, and I want to put question marks before the question. And this is the last point before I go to the Q&A or any comments that you all might have. And at this portion, if you are ready and you're a woman and you want to experience massive gratification through growth, make sure you comment GTG on IG. Okay? GTG, and you'll get some powerful information. Make sure you do that, okay? And I'm happy to see you all here. Thank you all for the kind du'as, prayers, and well wishes, the OPR family and team. We really do appreciate it. We're here to help. We're not here to harm. And the people that don't like us, y'all decided to be here. I hope you learned something. Your haters are your biggest marketing team. Never forget that. So, the battle of his bedrooms. As I come to a close, think about this, ladies. You're the only wife in the bedroom with your husband. And in the intimacy that he shares with his wife, his, subsequent wife or wives, has no bearing, again, on the success of your marriage. You all are in that marriage together, so nobody should care more about it than you do. That's where the work comes in at. You got a team. You got a teammate. And prayerfully, they're a good teammate. They're here to gain the rewards with you, not against you. And when it becomes a situation where there's polygyny and a man is practicing polygyny, we like breaking off into teams. We've seen that. People have tried that on live streams with myself and Coach Nyla. I remember this argument broke out a little flare up. This was probably 2020, 2019. And somebody had complimented me, and they didn't compliment Coach Nyla. And one of our faithful friends and viewers on YouTube got in there and they said, don't do that. Stop that, YouTube. Because see, now you being petty. This whole thing was going on in front of our eyesight while we're trying to do it live. And that, I don't remember that sister's name, but shout out to her. She knows who she is if she's watching. I was so proud of her because she said they both look beautiful. Right. And alhamdulillah, I'm not saying that as a flex, but I'm offering information. That was so mature of her because she saw how one was trying to diminish Coach Nyla's beauty by complimenting my own. And I thought, you see that high school mess in the chat? That's what I was thinking. I'm a mom. I got mom hearing. That eyesight is, I don't know, sis is an op right now, but it's okay. I got my glasses. But at the time, I didn't need them. And I zeroed in on it. And I said, this is happening right live in 5K in the chat with grown women. Oh, Coach Fatimah, you look so nice there. Girl, bye. And it was really immature. But I'm so happy that other one stepped up. And she shut that down. Because don't dare come over to here and try to clown us on a live and try to hurt my co-wife's feelings because you broke off into teams and pit me against her because I was here first. That birth order, that timeline has everything to do with Allah, to do with me. Because I didn't decide when my life with Coach Nadir was going to start. Not like that. And I surely didn't decide when his life with Coach Nadir was going to start. That's not my privilege. That was not my job. But they have a marriage and a life together. Indeed, they do. And this is not about breaking off into teams and being immature and not being able to have a conversation that grown-ups should be able to have. Doesn't mean it's going to go off without a hitch, and be super successful and you're going to love your co-wife overnight. No, it took us a long time. But one thing I knew is that once I started talking to my co-wife, I understood that she always wanted to talk to me and clear the air and answer questions I might have. And I really love that. So remember that, you all. And on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe and hit the notification bell. IG, do you have any questions? I'm going to answer the questions on YouTube first. I'm going to come over to IG, answer questions there. If you have any, where are you all at? Where's everybody at? Where you coming into the live from? State, country, Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, one and all. Watch this. Watch my life change. Watch my life change. Bam. Now you can't tell me nothing. You would comment shift on IG. Let me see IG. Hold up. I'm gonna answer a question. I don't see any here on YouTube, guys. And we thank you for the kind words. And we're here to help. We're here to help. And watch all the videos, you all. Don't just watch some of them, okay? Don't do that. Some people want to do that. They don't want to watch mine because I'm the first wife, and they don't want to watch Coach Nyla's because she's the second wife, and they don't want to watch Coach Nadir's because they're mad at him anyway, and he doesn't care. He's here to help the people that want to hear it, right? They want success in polygyny, because this is about success in polygyny, not surviving it, right? Because we want to get into survival mode a lot. And we go, this will never work. How can he make this work? How can we make it work? Let's change the quality of our questions. So instead of saying, this will never work, how can we make this work? Because there's a big picture. So we don't just think about the husband, right? Let's think about the entire family. Let's think about our children. Central Georgia in the house, over here on IG. Over here on IG. Nice to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I mean, I'm coming to a close, but and final thought, women are much happier when they focus on what's going on in their bedroom versus what's going on in their husband's bedrooms. They're much happier because they're focusing on what is important for their fulfillment, for the fulfillment of the marriage. Because again, I'm monogamously married to Coach Nadir and men in polygyny that practice it. There's a monogamous marriage over here between myself and Coach Nadir. There's a monogamous marriage between Coach Nadir and Coach Nyla. I'm not married to a co-wife. And that's just for people that are new. Some of you all already know that. Yep, you just comment shift on Instagram. Raleigh, North Carolina. I have a very dear bestie that lives in South Carolina. And I always love when she says the word time, because she says time. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, I'm going through the comments. And make sure, again, if you guys have questions. New York in the house. Yes. Assalamu alaikum, sis. Nice to see you. Florida. Nice to see you all. Thank you all so much for taking the time out to be over here on our YouTube channel. Make sure you come hitting the notification bell, because you're going to want to make sure you do that as well. So yes, if you have any questions, I'm going to look in the comments once again. Michigan, close to where I'm from, upper Midwest. Yes, IG has a question. I'm going to answer that. Let's see. What happens is, y'all, I got to get up. So if you can put the question back in there, because the IG is a little bit farther away from me. Dope Law in the house, as always, representing. Okay, I'm going to show your question here. Dope Law. Just 1 second. Invest in Polygyny Community today. Weekly and monthly live stream in there too. I'm excited to get it. Yeah, we're going to have some really good stuff over there as well. The polygamy community. It's really a safe space. So we wanted to create this safe space for mature, like-minded people to talk about polygyny and different topics regarding polygyny. You can link up in there with Coach Nadir, myself, and Coach Nyla as well. And I love it. I love it so much because you get some of the chatter out of the way, the noise and the distraction and immaturity. Okay, IG, do you think it's a good idea for a man to make a promise to wait for polygamy, knowing you have a way to go go about it, handling your nest. You have to decide that for yourself. Like for me and or for Coach Nadir, I couldn't tell him when that time would be for him. I know a lot of wives will say it's not time. It's not a good time for us to practice or for you to practice for us. Now, they might say that because the women might be pregnant or something like that, and they want to make sure that, they minimize any distractions or any upset that they might be feeling at the time. Some men said, I've waited years and I'm tired of waiting. So my question would be, how much more of your life do you have left? Who can answer that? Who knows? Who knows the answer? How much more of your life do you have left to live? You don't know. You don't know. So if you say I waited 10 years and your wife says, I think you should wait another 5 years, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to say, no, I'm not going to do that, but this is my plan, but it won't be 10 years from now. It won't be 5. Because you don't know how much longer you do have. That doesn't mean rush into anything. You definitely want to have some plans under your belt. And on YouTube, which is so awesome, Coach Nadir has many, many, many videos answering a lot of these questions, guys. I'm dead serious, and he has some really great information regarding anything that you want to know about polygyny, whether it's financial or whatever the case may be. And only Allah, you're right, only Allah knows. Only God knows how much time you have left. I shared this the other night. I had a neighbor that asked me, why would he practice polygyny now? And she was hurting when she said it, because we had lived next door to her for over 10 years. And so I told her, when would you have liked him to practice polygyny? She couldn't answer that. Because how can you? You would have to have the privilege of having access to his intentions and his mind, his brain. You'd have to have access to that, and we don't have access to that. Yeah. So planning for children and having babies first, and we as wives, we don't get to tell our husbands when they can have another wife or have a child with another wife. That'll get you in the red every time. Because what ends up happening is, and I've said this many times, and I'll say it again, we want to mother them. So many wives want the shoes of motherhood, not only with their children, but with their husband. And I will always tell women, he's been raised already. Missed the boat on that, and you weren't going to be his mother anyway. You're here to be his wife. So I don't tell my husband how to be. You can ask questions, give input, use some positive influence, but not manipulation. And use statements like, well, I was thinking X, Y, and Z. I'd like to know what you think. I had to come to that, y'all. I didn't come to that right away. I was a very young bride, and I wasn't thinking about sharing my husband, my very good-looking husband. Told y'all it was a problem back then, because that's the funny thing too. And this is kind of off topic, but people kind of give my co-wife a bad rap. They just do. And for some reason, I don't know who told the interweb this, the internet, but she's not the first woman that has ever been interested in Coach Nadir. Are you kidding me? Please. He's checked the boxes for more than just my co-wife. So when people go, well, why would you But then we can go all on TV and folks looking at Brad Pitt and Idris Elba and Lorenz Tate and everybody. All right. What's that man name with them blue eyes? I forget his name. The actor. There's probably a lot of those. But he's black. Pittsburgh in the house. They go, well, oh, he's an actor. Oh, well, oh, I don't have access to him. People look at what's good looking. They might not look long, but they look. So a man that's a good man, and in my husband's case, a practicing Muslim, he did not just get the attention of Coach Nyla. He still doesn't. He doesn't. There's two of us sitting on either side of him at any given moment. There's women on the internet and on these different platforms going, ooh, good looking guy. We sitting there. We're sitting there. I've been at the masjid. Let's get there. I've been at the masjid, and I'm coming to close, but I thought this was hilarious. I've been at the masjid. My co-wife wasn't there that day. I told her about it. We kikied about it. It was hilarious. And his sister walks up to me. She was like, there's a sister here asking if your husband wants a third wife. I said, child, I don't know. Don't ask him. Ask. I'm talking about messing up somebody's Sunday. They weren't expecting me to say that. He can only answer that. Like, I'm for real. I can give you his email. You can ask him. And he said, after that, he said he was open. But at that point, we hadn't talked about that stuff. We hadn't talked about it, but he said he was open. But not that day, because I had to look at the sister that asked me, was he interested in having a third wife on behalf of someone else, based off of who I know him to be. I told the sister, I said, he might, but I doubt very seriously if it would be her. And he agreed once I told him. He agreed. It's his decision to make, though. You would have to ask him, though. I'm not his mother. He's my husband. But it's not that. Attractiveness is not just about the face, you all. We know that, right? Because you can be beautiful and have the worst attitude, wear the most prettiest clothes you want to, and have the worst attitude. You can be a good-looking man with a beard and all this kind of, be an absolute tyrant. You can be a man without a beard and be a tyrant. You can have all the money in the world and be so ugly and dark on the inside. So yeah, if you have good looks, good heart, ambition, drive, you're brave, you're strong, you have good characteristics of a leader, you are going to attract more than one woman that finds you so amazing, and you'll attract more than one and continue to do that to the point where you have to say, no, I don't want to practice polygyny. I don't want to do that. There's brothers in our community where we're from that are qualified to practice polygyny. They just don't want to. They don't want the responsibility of it because it's heavy. It's a big job, right? There's women in the community that will say, I wish that brother would practice polygyny. Oh my God, I would love to be married to him. And I get it. So understand that our husbands are not just attractive to us. And it's not our job to tell them when they, as grown men, are ready to practice polygyny. That is something that happens inside of them. Now, we can say, well, financially, you think you can handle it? Like, where's your head at with it? And they might say, I don't know yet. It's something I want to do down the line. But if I was a man, I would never take it off the table for myself. As a Muslim man, as a man, I wouldn't get into, because I'm thinking about my sons and my bonus sons. I wouldn't want my son to sign a contract for marriage and take that away from himself, because he doesn't know who he's going to be later on. He doesn't know if he's going to be 20 and then mature in this way where he wants more than one wife. He might say at 20, I don't want that. And then he reaches, 30 and says, no, I think I do. I think I do. His evolution might dictate that that's what he wants. He might desire that and be willing to step up and be responsible for the role of being a man that is married to more than one wife. People change. So when you put these things in contracts and you take something completely away from yourself as a man, and then you look up one day and you've taken that away, you still have to honor a contract where you said you weren't going to do it. So that's why I said, you don't know who you're going to be. So don't take that away from yourself. But you do have to be qualified to practice polygyny. And if you are interested in learning more, comment on IG, guys, the word shift. Okay. I've seen some shift comments in there. Alhamdulillah. Right. The next second is not guaranteed to us. And yeah, we're bringing these lives to you all so that we keep the conversation going, right? We want to keep the momentum going around surrounding conversations, because if these conversations are difficult to have, it's because we're not bringing it up, we're not having them. And sometimes in our homes, we won't allow them to be had. We shut the husband down. I know I did. I was like, oh, no. I don't know about, And again, I was a new wife, new mom. And then on down the line, I was like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about it. Please don't talk to me about this. And it became such a hot button for me, because what I associated it to is losing something. You know, if I'm married and you kiss all the way, I never sleep powerful. I'm going to end the lives. And then that's for men only. Comment the word shift on IG. He had a little meeting with my grandmother. She summoned him. She's since passed on, but this was many years ago. She summoned him first year in polygyny, and she said, "And I don't want you there." You know, my grandma was something. She was a proud Southern woman, but she absolutely said, "I don't want you there," because if I had been there to change the conversation, I was thinking maybe if I was there, I would have been as willing to unleash hell, but you know, my girl didn't do it that way. She just had a very direct conversation with him, and then she called me up, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't know what she might not say. And she said to me, she said, well, he told me he's not going anywhere. That's what she said. Because she needed to hear that from him without me distracting the conversation with my emotions. She said, I don't want you to, you don't need to be there. And you don't need to be there, were her exact words. And I was glad I wasn't, because I wasn't mature enough to sit there with them and talk about that at that time. Because I was in my state of disbelief. And I remember we did a video, Coach Nadir and I did a video, and he said, I think that's weird when women think men are just run off. Well, you know, I was an abandoned child, so it wasn't weird to me, because everybody that said they loved me left, except for my grandparents, right? And look how the generation got skipped over between my parents' generation and theirs, and then me. You had a generation missing in there. So I said, he gonna leave too. Here we go. He's gonna leave too. So I love what Coach Nadir was saying. Find out what's going on with your wife, because she might have triggers you don't even know about. He would have never guessed I had an abandonment issue surrounding him, because he'd always been there. And I remember I was so upset one day, and I'm gonna let y'all go. I was so upset one day. Holy smokes, subhanAllah. I was like, oh, he just abandoned us. And I was just going through it. And my grandma was on the phone with me. She was like, he didn't abandon y'all. He coming back. And then after that, she, you know, she said, it's not me. She was like, Jesus Christ. She was so sick of me that day. And this was year one. And I was like, yeah, that means he's coming back. When my brightest shining moment. But you see how assumption and past trauma that you haven't dealt with can rear its ugly head in a space where a man has no intention of leaving you. And he doesn't even know this is going on with you. So these courageous conversations need to take place. And us being better listeners needs to take place too, because ain't nothing worse for a man than coming to his wife about something he's afraid to talk about and get shut down. Because men don't walk around saying, I'm so afraid of this conversation. They don't do that because the world tends to not care about men that are afraid and emotional and sad and depressed. The world says, you a man, man up, shut up. That's what the world says, especially to our men of color and our black men. They're constantly being told, shut up and you don't matter. They got to go out of the door wondering if they can keep themselves alive for the day. Just going to the store, just going to the bank, just being in traffic in some states and countries and cities has a lot of pressure. So one of the worst feelings I'm sure to experience is to come home and feel as though you're going to be shut down again by your wife. Or why his brother could be having a bad day and get shut down by both of them in one day and have a horrible day, So for the women out there, comment the word heal if you're on IG. And you're sick and tired of feeling stuck and you want to get out of your hurt over to your healing. So comment the word heal if you're a woman on IG. I'm going to look at some comments here on YouTube. Bear with me, please, as I come to a close. It's about that time, and I want to prepare my home. Pretty prepared because I'm in my house right now, the one that I share with Coach Nadir, and he's just next door in the home that he shares with Coach Nyla. Y'all don't believe me, I'm literally next door. This wall right here is a shared wall. So on the other side of that wall, my family's over there. My family's in here. My family's over there behind me on the other side of that wall, my bonus babies. Yes, men have feelings too. Thank you so much. I'm going to put that on the screen here on YouTube. Men have feelings too. And they won't share them with you if you shut them down. It won't be a safe space. It won't be a safe space. And they'll be reluctant to talk to you. Yeah, to talk to you. Conversations with the Creator is so important. So I told you all before, and I mean this, and it's such a beautiful sentiment to the sanctity of my marriage, and more specifically, more importantly, to the beauty of the relationship that Coach Nadir has with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When I saw how much more he prayed, he was already a practicing Muslim, and he prayed Sunnah, and he fasted during Ramadan. He did all the things that were so important to stay connected to Allah. But when it's almost like he doubled in worship and ibadah when he married again, because this was something he had never done before. And I'm sure he felt like he had much to kind of lose if he didn't keep himself grounded. I mean, he can only speak for himself, but from my perspective, I was proud of him in that he just took more time with Allah. And I knew as he did that, first of all, it was an amazing example for me as his wife. However, and our children, and I'm not saying all the times it's easy and it was all great. And I'm not saying that, but in the moments where I was quiet myself, observing him worship more, has probably been one of the most beautiful things I've ever witnessed him do in his life. Of course, helped me give birth to our children, that taking care of his father when his father was sick and he passed away from cancer, watching him care for him, watching him care for our babies, change diapers and be domestic as he's trying to juggle work life and things like that, and throwing our children up in the air, throwing his children up in the air, my bonus babies, and feeding them from his hand and things of that nature. Those are heart softeners, right? But that relationship with Allah that he had, and how he just really took everything up so many different levels. I said, we'll be all right. Now I just need to do the same. I need to have conversations with Allah and make sure I'm doing what I need to do and make dua for the success of this family, my marriage, um, my husband, my children. May they find healing and protection in the family that they help create. My co-wife, again, my bonus babies, you know, and continuing that dua, that we stay connected and strong and firm and loving toward one another, and use our family even in the hard times, even in the times where we weren't so kind to one another. Use it as a teachable moment for others and our children, because you're not going to find perfection in polygyny. You're not going to find it in life, period. But sometimes we come over here and we want that, so not going to get it. So thank you all so much for being here with me. I'm going to spend time with my family, and I'm sending and Bluetoothing hugs to the other side of the wall, to the other side of the wall where my family is in their home next door to us. My co-wife and I filmed a video. We're going to see if we can have it up soon, and we're discussing our lives as neighbors now. We've never been neighbors before, and it's been pretty good. It has. It has. It really has. And we're still figuring everything out because we have grown children, we have littles, and the doors are going back and forth and stuff like that. But I love that our younger children love that so much, because it just makes life easier for them, so that they're closer to one another in proximity, and they go to the masjid together. They always did. They go to Jummah together, but it's just easier for them, and I'm very happy for that. But my co-wife and I make it easy on each other and our husband, and we get along, and we have a love for this family and one another, so that we want it to be successful, because we knew what it felt like when it was like, oh my God, we do not talk. I wasn't talking to her. She's always had this really amazing presence about herself, where she's understanding and sees all the sides and not just her own, and it's a really great way to be. So she makes it easy. So if our co-wife relationship is easy, it's because we don't make it difficult for one another. We just don't. This is not just about us and how we feel, and we feel good. We do. We take care of one another. I'm looking at the chat, but I don't see anything here, guys. We don't date. I'm gonna put this up here. Does each date with each wife have to be in a different place? The story you gave before made me think that's a way to divert jealous energy. Yet also the wife may be jealous of another wife going. We don't like dates. We don't date in the realm of dating, but I think what you're talking about is actually Coach Nadir taking us out together. We've been out together with him. We've had ice creams, coffees. We took a double-decker bus kind of tour around one of the open air malls here in on the continent. We've done that, but we do things separately. So Coach Nadir and I will maybe go have dinner. Him and Coach Nala go have dinner. Whatever we decide to do, and it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. So it's not like he'll go, well, I took her to dinner on Tuesday, I better take her to dinner on Wednesday. That's not how it works, because we have a big family, and we do these things when we can and when it's feasible and when it's our time to be together with him as a trio, like working together, or the family's out together for Eid, for example, or we're having a celebration or something like that, then we'll be together. But other than that, he'll make time for each wife as he sees fit and as it works into the schedule, and we give feedback on when we feel like we want to do something with him separately. Absolutely. But Coach Nadir and I don't get on the phone with girl, and he took me to dinner. Did he take you to dinner? We don't do that. It's what it is for whatever that relationship is, and that's a private thing, and an intimate moment, even though it might be lunch, even though it might be a grocery store run. That's something that we do, and we don't talk about it with one another, because you'll see in some women that jealousy can arise, and jealousy is natural. We keep acting like it's something abnormal phenomenon that happens, and it's not. So yes. I am going to end this live. Remember, if you are on YouTube, make sure you are liking, subscribing, and commenting. Put healthy polygyny in the chat if you've made it this far on the live. I'm going to see you guys again. I plan on doing this maybe next week. We have the Eid coming up, our holiday, probably this Friday, inshallah. And so we'll be spending time with our family, shut everything down. IG, I'm going to bid you adieu or good night. And also on YouTube, I already told y'all what to do. Comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video or the live. The sharing is caring. It'll stay up. We'll keep this conversation going. You can get our book at letstalkpolygamy.com for details. It's our book, y'all. I don't know if you picked it up yet. There's still time. There's still time. And there's so much good information in there because you get 3 different perspectives because I co-wrote it with Coach Nadir and Coach Nyla. And they're just fine. I think somebody asked last night, where was Coach Nyla? She's living her life. She's doing good. You know, I'm sure you guys will be seeing her. But remember, she has young children with Coach Nadir, and my children are the lion's share of our children are grown-ups. My baby is 13, but my other baby's 7. So my bonus baby is 7. So the youngest is 7, and the oldest is almost 30. So we have different lifestyles and things like that, although we support each other in it. We see each other often, every week, couple times a week. So shout out to her. But yeah, she's doing just fine with her amazing self. And I just wanted to answer that because somebody asked last night. I forgot to answer you guys. So yes. And this is for our book. If you're on YouTube, you can see that at the bottom of your screen. And your girl is going to get up out of here. Again, you guys have a restful evening if you're on this side of the world, and have an amazing day if you're on the other side of the world, opposite of us. So, okay. Just one more go around in the comments. Just got to make sure. And you guys can reach out to us as well at our support email, support at outstanding personal relationships, okay, at gmail.com. So Eve Mubarak to you all when it's up and coming, inshallah. Do all you can to get extra blessings during this wonderful time. Spend time with your family and make sure that you are growing intentionally, loving fearlessly, and connecting on a higher level every single day. I will see you all in the next one. Assalamu alaikum. Coach Fatimah. Peace.